evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with Joe Vollano. I'm going to start this show off not on a personal note. I mean, it is kind of personal, but over the last couple days, I think I've taken a couple beatings. Unexpected things happen in life. We all expect them, it happens. But I found myself going against some of the things that, in my core belief, I think is essential. One, never regretting anything that happens. If you go into things knowing certain things could go a certain way, and you go into it willingly, you can't have regret for the outcome. But I'm also having a hard time with being grateful for, those same experiences that you have during that time. So, I just want to make sure that people out there understand that in life, shit happens. But you can't regret it. You can't regret the experiences that you have. No matter whether they're good or bad, you have to be willing to accept the bad with the good. Because regret is a waste of time. And this isn't even just your personal life. This isn't business. This isn't anything. It's in anything. Regret is a waste of time. And we need to make sure that you have yourself in order. Or as one of my favorite comedians, Cat Williams, would say, is you have to be in tune with your star player, which is your star player is yourself. And as long as you're in tune with that, nothing else could hurt you. So you're absolutely right. Everything is a life lesson. Life is messy and imperfect. Regret causes nothing but stress and anxiety, and it takes you out of tune with your star player. But like I said, you also have, when you're feeling regret, is blocking you from feeling what you should, which is grateful. Grateful that you're here. Grateful that you have good health, good friends, good family that are there to support you. And I gotta say, I am the most grateful person in the world because I have the greatest family that you could possibly have. And I know a lot of people will say that upon their family. And I have an amazing, and I don't have a big circle of friends. I keep a very small circle of really good friends that I would consider family. But even though, like I said, I was rocked to the core over the last couple of days, where, I was tested. But I won't let regret get in the way of my gratitude. Ever. Pain is something you learn from, something you grow from, and it helps you become a better person for the future. I am a strong believer that God has a plan for each and every one of us. Sometimes we might question it. Like today, I question it. Why? But I know it's there. I know he has that plan, and everything happens for a reason. So that's just a little personal side note today for me, it's like I said, it's been a tough couple of days for me. But like I said, I'm blessed to have some great people around me. So, like I said, we take it as a life lesson, and we try to do our best not to be negative. Always look at the positive of everything. Like I said, if it wasn't for that, hell, my life would have been miserable if I had to follow, all the nonsense that happened in my childhood and just growing up, seeing the crap you see. It's easy to look at the negatives. It's easy to play victim. It's hard to sit there and look at the positives when the darkness sets in. It's hard to see the light when darkness sets in, but you need to push through it. And you can. You can. So, hug each other, tell the people that you love them, and, just pay attention and listen, because might be things that you're just missing. So, I just want to start with that, let you know where I'm coming from today. Because like I said, gratitude is important because it allows us to see the world that is bigger than us. And like I said, God has a plan for each and every one of us. And, gratitude lets you grow personally and professionally. So, just always be grateful for everything you have. And try to push that on to others that aren't possibly, feeling the way you do. So, like I said, that circle of influence. Make sure you're passing being grateful also. And yeah, at Frontier, you guys could all have a big hug circle tomorrow. So, I almost forgot. So. As always, I'm Joe Vollano. I am your guiding light through the craziness that's going on. And like I said, craziness happens on my side too. So can't hug Roger. That's mean. But if you want to be part of the show, I always encourage that. I always enjoy that. By all means, give us a call at 203-679-9610 if you want to be on the show. Or straighttalkjv@gmail.com if you want to, if you just want to send a quick email. I had a ton of emails come in over the last couple days since our last show. So today we're going to go through, because some of them were really good. So I picked 5. I picked 5 out of the 11 that came in. So I apologize if I don't get to yours. I promise you that and maybe in future shows we'll get to it. The ones I am going to get to are ones that are relevant to today of what's going on, and we're gonna try to tackle some of these because I think they're really good. First one was from Gary in New Britain. And he watched our show a couple weeks ago on cryptocurrency. So he sent me an email, and I can't tell you what is said at the beginning. The first couple were, well, I could, I always say put the kids to bed early, but it was an FU because he listened to the show and he bought some cryptocurrency. So did I. I bought cryptocurrency for the first time after that show, and we are just taking an absolute beating right now. But if you look at why we're taking the beating that we are, it's because of the things we actually talked about. We talked about the pros and cons of cryptocurrency. And I said during the show that when the question was asked, do I feel like cryptocurrency is the way of the future? And I said no, because governments will never, ever give up the control of the money. So people were like, well, why is Bitcoin taking a huge dive? Well, 2 things. One, Elon Musk is totally reversed on what he said about Bitcoin with being used to buy Teslas. And two, he came out with a negative that, and it is true, the amount of energy that is being used to produce Bitcoins now is crazy. So he was against it. So that was the first. And then China jumped in. This is one that really matters the most. Because China jumped in and said, no, cryptocurrency is not going to be accepted in China, which is the second largest economy in the world. And they are actually going to crack down on people that are mining Bitcoin in China. And they're going to crack down on people being able to purchase things in China with Bitcoin. So that's really, really important. Because you also have America. That is saying, okay, well, we're going to lead on regulating Bitcoin. And now any business that takes anything over $10,000 in Bitcoin has to now file for that. It has to file taxes on it now. Where before you could get away with not filing taxes and with not claiming it. Now you do. So, I mean, all those reasons combined is why you're seeing the absolute collapse of cryptocurrency. So now, so people are saying, Joe, do you sell cryptocurrencies now, or do you hold them? Me, I'm going to hold on to mine because, again, I'm not a short-term investor. I'm long-term. I try to look at the big game, at the long game. First of all, my portfolio in cryptocurrency has dropped by 50%. Let me just put that out there right now. All my cryptocurrency that I own has lost at least 50% of value over the last 3-4 weeks. No, Paul, I don't hate you for investing in Dogecoin, but do I see it bouncing back? I see it bouncing back a little bit. Do I think I'm gonna regain all my lost investment? No, I probably won't. But I'm willing to let it play out. I mean, for what I have invested into it, I mean, compared to what my whole portfolio is, it's nothing. So, if I lose, $1,500, I mean, looking at the whole picture, it doesn't mean much. So, we got marijuana stocks. Oh God. So so Gary, that is why cryptocurrency saw the big decline. Will it bounce back? Maybe. Mickelson won the golf tournament. Which one was it, Sue? I don't even know what it was. I was listening to it this morning, and I didn't get to finish watching it. But listen, the whole thing is gambling. When you look at the stock market, the whole stock market is a gamble. So, but again, just like anything else, I don't have regret in buying cryptocurrency. I don't mind buying it. Doing the research on it, it was a decent investment. But again, I don't regret it. So I'll be really grateful if it bounces back, though. Then I would cash out. If I could get to even, I would cash out. But I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. So that was a great question, Gary. I'm glad you watched the show, Gary. So I thank you for watching it. He watches it after the show's over. So just like many others. So next question came from Tracy here in Meriden. And she asked me, with all the talks let me grab the actual. So with everything going on in the city of Meriden, Who would you like to see run for office? What's your perfect slate? So, Tracy, I thank you for the question. I think it'd be a little premature for me to sit there and give an answer on that. But so I wouldn't want to give specifics to which people I would like to see run. Maybe in future shows as we get closer to maybe July, we can. But I mean, I can tell you what I'm looking for in a candidate. I'm looking for a candidate that has a strong backbone. First and foremost, I want someone who is not afraid to push back. I know there's a lot of things coming towards us in the next 6 months on the city council that's going to affect everybody here in the city. So I want someone that has, like I said, a strong backbone, is true to his beliefs or her beliefs. That's key. You're not going to you're not going to go against your principles. It's very important. That's probably the most important thing for me in a candidate is someone who is true and self-secure in their beliefs. They don't mind being called names because they will be. So, I want someone who's like, an old Lenny Rich or a Walter Shammick. No, no matter what they said, or what people said about them, they stayed true to what they believed, whether, most people agreed with it or not. And I want I want people who are going to put the taxpayers in the forefront of everything in their decision making, putting them in the forefront. Is this good for the taxpayers? If it's not, vote against it. If it is, go for it. So those are the qualities I'm looking at for in a candidate. Will we find enough of them? Maybe. I hope so. I mean, I'm sure they're out there, and I'm hoping they're listening to this show. Because if you are listening to this show and you're from Meriden, and you have those qualities, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. We need to hear from you. If you're willing to put that kind of time and effort in, by all means, please speak up. So, Tracy, I thank you for the question. Like I said, maybe as we get closer to July, when really candidates have to come out, I'll put out a list of who I want. If I had to say one right now, one person I say right now, and again, and me and this person, we've had our ins and outs, but like a Dan Zabrowski, I would love to see a Dan Zabrowski run. Anyone who doesn't know who Dan Zabrowski is, if you're in the city of Meriden, you should really look him up on Facebook. Can he go off the beating path every once in a while, and I think he should rein himself in? Sure, but I think from everything I spoke about of those qualities that I'm looking for, I think he'd be a solid one. And he came pretty close 2 years ago to winning. So I don't know how he'll feel about me putting him out there, but I know he has thick skin, so I don't think he's going to care. But again, that's just one that I think you could just go off of those principles and see where I'm at. So let's go to the next question. So number 2, how do you this was an interesting one. So the next one's from Philip from Southington. And he said, Joe, I've seen you run for office the last 3 times and lost. How do you handle being called a failed politician on Facebook? And why do you continue to speak out? I don't mind being called anything. So I really don't. People call me all sorts of names, even within probably my own party. Probably call me, unfavorable names, and that's okay. Listen, again, you must know the reality that you're getting into when you run for politics. When you do anything, whether it's business, personal, whatever, whether it's politics, like I said, business, you have to be honest with yourself about what you're getting yourself into. And I understood 100% what I was getting into back in 2015 when I ran for the first time here in the city of Meriden. Now, I've run before in New Haven and lost, and that's okay. Again, same principle is going to apply here. I knew what I was getting myself into. 2015, I was going against the deputy majority leader at the time, unknown to everybody, and I am a strong conservative. I'm not a moderate. I'm not a moderate by any means. So my chances of trying to push, trying to push my conservative views in a city that's run by Democrats, you have to know the reality is that you're going to get a lot of pushback. And you're probably not going to be received as well as you may want to. And that's okay. But you must stay true to the principles that you believe in. And you cannot waver from it. Prime example of this. I was running in 2015 for the first time. I'm meeting with some Republicans. And they turn around and go, well, what's your view on abortion? And I'm like, oh, that's an odd question for a local race. I'm like, well, I was like, I'm pro-life. And they're like, oh, great. So they're like, oh, even with, rape and forced incest? I'm like, no. I was like, I don't look at things from a religious view, which is where they were coming from. I don't look at anything through a religious view. I look at things very simple. Personal responsibility. Did you put yourself in the situation you're in, and did you take responsibility for it? And that's how I look at it. And everything to me is you make a choice, and you have to deal with the consequences that come with those choices. And when it comes to rape and forced incest, I don't believe it is. So therefore, I told them I would be for the abortion if they wanted it. And they lost their shit. And, like I said, these were Republicans. And I told them, listen, we could agree to disagree. It's okay. And I didn't get their support. And it was fine. I'm not going to go against my principles and what I believe in. So, am I a failed politician? It depends on how you look at it. If you're looking at it strictly from a numbers perspective, I guess you could say yes, because I haven't won. And if, and even some moderates will say, oh, well, we won an election. Well, you're a moderate. So, at the end of the day, though, if you act like a Democrat, eventually they're going to just vote for a Democrat, and they're not going to bother with you. I think there is no in between when it comes to me and a liberal. You know what you're voting for. You'll get, Brian Daniels, who I ran in 2015. Again, the guy is so well known in the city, absolutely tremendous lawyer. And if I ever needed a lawyer, trust me, I'd be hiring Brian Daniels, because he's phenomenal. Now, his politics, I think he's crazy. But you knew where each of us stood, and there was no discussion about, where do we agree on. So, but again, we only lost that race by 69 votes. A first time, and I only spent $3,000 against someone who spent almost $20,000, who has been there forever, and I only lost by 69 votes. So to me, most people will sit there and go, oh, well, that's a loss. Well, in theory, I guess in technicality, yeah. But to me, that was a freaking huge win. That's a huge win. And that's how I look at it. So, I just think that we need more conservative views in there. Republicans can win in this city. I think this city is coming around. I really do. I think the city is coming around to seeing what is really going on. And I think what's been going on over the last couple of weeks have really pissed a lot of Meriden people off. So, because a lot of these Meriden people, first of all, are not anti-police. They're not. I think the council is making a huge mistake going down this road. But, like we talked about last week, they have a crazy liberal running the show. You have an incompetent, unproven leader in Sonia Jelks trying to run the city council. Crazy. So in some ways, I'm happy about that because I think she's going to lead that party straight down the shitter. So what's the question, Paul? Go ahead, spit it out. So again, it all depends on how you look at it. I don't see myself as a failed politician. First of all, I don't see myself as a politician. So I care about what happens to the taxpayers of the city of Meriden. I care about what happens to the residents of the city of Meriden. And that's first and foremost what I care about the most. I don't mind taking shots. That kind of stuff doesn't bother me. Like I said, I am in tune with my star player. So I know what's in here, and there's nobody that's going to shake that. So, so again, if you stick to those beliefs, Phil, there is no such thing as a failed politician. I need a few moments to type it. Oh boy! Oh, here we go. This one should be interesting. So again, Phil, thank you for the question. I'm glad you're listening over there in Southington, and if you want to talk about some Southington stuff, just let me know. We'll be more than happy to do so. This is so. First of all, Melissa already knows that. So this next question is from Melissa in the my great hometown of East Haven, Staven. I was down there last week. I absolutely love it down there. I miss it. I went down to the Sandpiper. If you've never been to the Sandpiper in East Haven, by all means, you have to make a trip down there. It is phenomenal. So I was down there about a week and a half ago, and I happened to run into Melissa. So she must be listening to the show now. So her question was, we actually talked about down there also, with the mask restrictions being lifted. She's asking why the sudden reversal. And it is. She has a solid point. There was just 3 weeks ago, CDC was like, no, you have to wear masks, And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, they changed course. And she's asking if there's a deeper reason why. And I believe there is. I believe their internal polling was starting to change on them. Listen, when it comes to politics, especially down in Washington, remember, I always say it, don't trust a single friggin' one of them. You cannot trust Washington. There are very, very few people in Washington that you could trust. And unfortunately, none of them have any power right now. So I take everything that the government says with a grain of salt. But I also do know the politics behind it all. And I think that's where this is really coming into play. Because you saw a total reversal in policy from Sunday to Wednesday. And the only explanation for that, when you're talking about Washington, and you're talking about reversals like that quick, is polling. Hold on. We're going to put that on hold for a second. Here's Paul's question. He said last show that he identified as a vaccinated person. Why don't you wear a mask? I have two choices: wear a mask or get vaccinated. I choose not to get vaccinated, so I wear a mask. You should be wearing a mask. So that's not a question. That's a statement. Is that what you're saying? Or are you just saying, why don't I wear a mask? Okay, that's a great question. We get it. Oh, well, I guess it kind of leads into what we're talking about now. So, one, I don't wear a mask because I know the science, and if you look at all the numbers state that you have more likely chance of getting struck by lightning than really having too many issues of dying from the coronavirus. Now, a couple different things. One, 2% of people die from the coronavirus. And, well, first of all, let me rephrase that because that's not a completely accurate statement. Die of complications from the coronavirus. I don't wear one because I believe I don't have to. I'm not afraid of catching the coronavirus. I'm not. That's just me. Because even if I was to contract it, the odds of me being hospitalized, the odds of me dying is so minuscule that it's not. Remember, everything's risk versus reward. In fact, it's funny because I got to pull this up because Mr. Hansen, who's not on tonight, sent me a meme. Well, it wasn't a meme, but it was. It's funny because hold on a second. I'm over hearing myself. So he sent me a. I gotta find it because now I got it. So he sent me this. How anti-vaxxers sound to the rest of us was the name of the thing. Well, again, Paul, are you ready to change 98% of people's lives for 2%? When those 2% could take the proper precautions? Remember, if those 2% should be the ones that are wearing the mask. You don't hold 98% of the country hostage in lockdowns and masks for 2%. You don't. If you have an underlying condition or you are sick, yes, wear a mask, stay home. You don't quarantine healthy people. The whole meaning of quarantine is to lock down sick people. You don't do that. This is America. We don't sit there and work on fear. You're not 100% vaccinated either way. It's just like the flu shot. You can still get the flu. So, okay, and this kind of feeds right into it because here's what it says. How anti-vaxxers sound to the rest of us. I once almost choked to death while eating food. I did my own research and discovered that I am not alone. Thousands of people choke every year while eating, and hundreds of those people die. That's why I don't feed my kids. It's dangerous. Now, plenty of people will point out that food supposedly prevents starvation, and that might be true, but it's not fair to completely ignore all the dangers of food poses, like choking, allergies, gingivitis, and garlic breath. I'm just saying, do your own research and decide whether it's best for your kids. If you choose to give your kids potential deadly food, that's your problem, but as a parent, I don't think the government has the right to tell me I need to feed my kids. Now, this is so fucking stupid, this post, which is why I commented on it. And I told them, and here's what my comment was. Risk versus reward. If you don't eat, you die. Therefore, the risk is worth it. Now, if you don't get the vaccine, will you die? No, you won't. Therefore, there's no reward for taking the risk. Liberals are so friggin' stupid. So friggin' stupid. Because they try to take the craziest shit and turn it into against anti-vaxxers. It's crazy. It's crazy. Their logic is so asinine and so backwards, but they believe it. So, there's nothing you can do. Listen, if you believe what the government is telling you and that you have to wear, when they were telling us, Paul, were you wearing 2 masks? When Dr. Fauci came out and said we should be wearing 2 masks, were you doing that? Did you care? If you didn't do it, Why? Your government was telling you it was to save people. Were you being disrespectful to the 2% that might get really sick and die from it? Because those were liberals. That's why. Because those were liberals. You don't hear Republicans saying this crap. Republicans, if you want to follow the science, then there should have been no lockdown. No lockdown. But these are liberal policies. These are coming from liberals. So to come away, so not to take the reality of it that they're not liberals would be wrong. So we call it the way it is. I choose. Why? Let me put it this way. Why is it disrespectful for me not to wear a mask? Because I don't feel I need to. Isn't that my choice, my responsibility? So if I get sick, is that your fault or my fault? It's my fault, right? We go back to the whole personal responsibility and consequences for our actions that we take. The government is not here to tell me how to live my life. The government is not here to tell you how to live your life. You are perfectly capable of deciding whether or not what's good for you and your family. Now, if you decide that you want to wear a mask, by all means, go for it. I'm not here to tell you that you're being disrespectful, or what. I'm not here to say that. You do whatever the hell you want. We live in America. This is so freaking great about it. But for you to sit there and then come at me and say, well, no, you should be wearing one. No, you go fuck yourselves. No. And I know, Paul, you get embarrassed coming to stores with me because I don't wear a mask. But now, everybody's happy. So, again, I think this whole mask thing was just ridiculous. Like I said, were you wearing 2 masks when they told you to? And if you weren't, why are you being disrespectful? You do what you want. You want to get vaccinated, go get vaccinated. You want to wear a mask, go wear a mask. I don't care what you do. But don't sit there and think you're going to dictate to me what I'm going to do. Because that's not how America works. That is Republicans, yes. Yes. Republicans will not be dictated by the government. That's what Republicans stand for. That's a core principle of being a Republican. A small federal government. That's what we're all about. I don't want them living my life. So the less government is affected in my life, the better. So I am proud to carry that torch. So that's why I think their internal polling, was telling them that the mask thing was killing them. I think when Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky and Dr. Fauci had that exchange in the Senate about masks, I think it blew the vaccination right out of the water. So you're telling me that we can get vaccinated, but we still have to wear masks. So there's no reward for going to get the vaccination. So I think that was the beginning of the end of masks, and I think that the polling that came out afterwards really showed Democrats that they needed to change course quickly. And I think Joe Biden, he's a career politician. He's been there forever. He knows when polls speak, he needs to act if he wants to save anything else he wants to do. So I think that's why you see the change in the mask policy. Now this last one. And the last one came from Dan, not Dan Zabrowski, but it came from a Dan in Meriden here. And he asked me about St. Louis. He asked, why do you think the St. Louis mayor is defunding the police? Now, at first, I didn't know what he was talking about because I'm sorry, I just don't follow St. Louis, Missouri's politics, but I went and looked it up. And I said, all right, well, let's see what Dan is talking about. And sure enough, the St. Louis mayor is cutting 100 police officers, and then she's moving $4 million from the police department to social services and the housing department. So now, just so everyone knows, St. Louis, Missouri has the worst murder rate of any city in America. Now, when I talk about that, I mean by how many deaths per 100,000 people. So I talk percentage-wise. They have 86 deaths per 100,000 people, murders. That's crazy for a small town that they are, or a small city that they are. Well, they're a medium-sized city. But the citizens will get what they deserve because elections have consequences. They voted this mayor in, who is the first black female mayor of St. Louis, who campaigned on it. So it's not a shocker. Well, let me rephrase that. If you're an informed voter in St. Louis, this should not be a shocker that this is happening. And if you are shocked, you should be ashamed of yourself because you're an uninformed voter and you were to blame for why it's happening. Let me just put that out there. Same thing here in Meriden, because this is what's coming to Meriden. After reading this, I'm like, this is the end game for Meriden. This is what they want. And this will be their template. Whether it fails or succeeds, this will be the template. So if the people of Meriden allow this to happen because they're uninformed, shame on you. And if you do know about it and are going along with it, shame on you. And you will get what you deserve. And that is a great police force that is just going to go away. You're going to see retirements go crazy. You're going to have shortages. You're going to have police officers working doubles 3 times, 4 times a week. And you're going to have a city gone friggin' crazy. Like, listen, we already start to see it. So let's get into some of the things she talked about. So like I said, St. Louis has 86 homicides per 100,000 residents, and this was last year. That is the highest in the country. So this is the plan. They're like I said, funding a comprehensive approach to violent crime is the best approach to reducing murders. This requires both police and partnering agencies adequate funding and support victims and hold offenders accountable. It also requires targeted arrests and prosecution to get murderers and shooters off the streets and not filling jails with nonviolent offenders. Now, the last section, not filling jails with nonviolent offenders, we could possibly have some agreement there. You know, low minor stuff, I can understand. But if you have a gun that's unregistered, you're going to jail. That's not. It may be a nonviolent crime, but it can be in the future. And if you look at the problem we're having here in Meriden, is that a lot of the shootings that we're having here are from gang related and drug related. So they might go into jail as a nonviolent offender, but in the city of Meriden, they're just getting fucking thrown right back out there. The state of Connecticut doesn't want to put anyone in jail. They're just sending them back out into the street, and these people are just doing the same thing all over again. Prime example is what we had a month and a half ago with the 5 officers that got hurt. They've been in and out of jail all year. You know, the thing of it, you know, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. If you keep releasing these people and they keep coming back, what is that telling you? They're going to do it again. And they are. And they almost killed officers. And they should be counting their lucky stars that they are still alive today. Because I still think a bullet should have went through that windshield. And I'm pissed that a bullet wasn't sent through that windshield. I'm still pissed about that. Now, that might be, some people might call that incentive. I don't give a shit. He should have been dead right there. Instead, he's going to be walking the streets. And that emboldens other people to do the same. To show no respect for the police department. No respect for officers. That's what these kind of things tell people. Now, there is one huge issue I have in St. Louis, because I had to go do more research. Because I just don't read articles. I just don't read an article and say, okay, here's what I think. I have to dig a little deeper. So what I did is I went and looked at St. Louis Police Department over the last year, what was going on. And I found something that's very disturbing. And here it is. In the city of St. Louis, there are 2 separate police unions in St. Louis. Now, some people will sit there and go, well, that's kind of normal sometimes. Usually, your brass have one and then your officers have one. No. Ready for this? They still have 2 separate police unions, one for black officers and one for white officers. And they're constantly fighting with each other. That right there is unexcusable. Why in hell do you have a black police union and a white police union? You want to start somewhere? Right there. Get rid of that. Listen, when you do identity politics, or you do anything based off of identity, you're going to have issues. Because one side's always going to think the other side's screwing them, or something's not equal. And that is a huge issue within a police department, to have police officers going at each other. That is dangerous. I am so sick and tired of everything that's being done or being said based on the color of someone's skin. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's dangerous. It's irresponsible. It's irresponsible. And the representatives of St. Louis should have kicked that out before it even started. Who even thought that was a good idea? Identity politics is a dangerous game. And it needs to stop. So I don't know why they would have 2 unions. I couldn't find the reason why behind it. It's crazy. So I understand where people are coming from. But this whole identity politics and this whole racial warfare, I'm not standing for it. I'm not standing for that at all. We have a serious problem here in Merida because they want to make everything. They want to make everything black versus white, minorities versus the white. Hell, we have the chief of police being told not to be fucking transparent about what's going on in the city. Anyone know why? Why wouldn't the city, want to be transparent with the public about shootings going on in the city. Anyone know why? Because they're not white. They're pushing this identity politics. Because they're minorities, they don't want it being talked about. Listen. Facts are facts. We have to be transparent. If you're not transparent and you're not willing to look at things from a factual point of view, there is no starting point for a realistic and productive dialogue. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about African Americans, Hispanics, Caucasians. We're all Americans. We are all Americans. Let's start acting like it. Act like it. Stop trying to play victim on both sides. Like I said, there's plenty of poor white people, Hispanic people, black people. They're on all sides. Why are we only concentrating on certain ones? I care about everybody. I don't care about the color of your skin. I could care less. I hate when people even start the discussion about it. I don't want to hear about poor black people. I don't want to hear about poor Hispanic people. I don't want to hear about poor Caucasian people. I want to hear about poor Americans and how are we fixing the problem. That's all I care about. So like I said, back to this story, since we got a little sidebar there. So the mayor's proposal is to slash funds from the police department and redirect the money to social programs as an idea embraced on the campaign trail. She says as many as half the city's police calls can be handled by someone other than a law enforcement officer. I would love, because they did not get specific about what calls should not be handled by a police officer. And if they say domestic violence, can be handled by a social worker instead of a police officer, you're going to have some serious problems, St. Louis. Because do you know what calls get deadly the most? Domestic violence. You're going to have the death of a social worker and you're going to see a city on fire. Meriden, like I said, Meriden, this is what's coming. So I thank you for the question, because you know what? It opened my eyes, and the more I read into it, I'm like, wow. This is their utopia. This is what liberals want. So this might be what we get. So if I was you guys, I would be watching St. Louis. I think St. Louis is going to be, it's going to be the template for everything else. I would love to know. Listen, I said this last week. I noticed that the neighborhood association, I know some of you, like Mike, I know you're on the neighborhood association. I haven't heard a peep out of the neighborhood association. Now, when Cassette was police chief of Meriden, you heard the neighborhood association at every friggin' meeting, defending the police till the day they die. I mean, every breath. I'm still to the belief that Cassette was writing all the notes and letters for Holly and them to read. I don't think anyone can convince me otherwise, because all of a sudden they've gone absolutely friggin' radio silent on what's going on. And I said, that's two things. One, she's stuck in between a rock and a hard place. One, she's for the police department to a certain extent, but also she's a hardcore liberal, and she's not going to go against them. So she's stuck. So she's just going to keep quiet. And that's not what leaders do. If you're running, and again, that's up now for everyone. Like Mike, I'm going to call you out. Mike, that's on people like you that need to get a hold of Holly and be like, hey, we need to come out one way or another and say where we stand on this. You need to come out and say something. So I think they can only get away with it for so long before, they start becoming irrelevant now. Because again, the Neighborhood Association, first of all, I think needs to be revamped altogether. And that's going to be part of my talk with the chief on revamping the Neighborhood Association. I think it needs to be a lot smaller, but yet more inclusive. So, but again, this St. Louis thing is absolutely crazy. Because then here's two more points to it, because we're getting close to the 8 o'clock mark. I wanted to make sure I kept it around an hour tonight. So one more thing they're doing in St. Louis is they say that they don't need 2 jails. So they're closing one of their jails up. Their medium security jail, known as the workhouse. They're closing it. So we need to move people through the system. We need to find alternatives to jails for some of the offenses. Like I said, you got to be careful, because in Meriden they're doing that, or in the state of Connecticut they're doing that, and they're going right back on the streets and they're doing more crime. So, but the mayor had one quote in here that I wanted to touch on, because I thought it was friggin' hilarious, because it's so stupid. Oh, here it is. So Jones told the UK newspaper, The Telegraph, Tuesday that more police doesn't prevent crime. Now, most people are going to sit there and go, well, that may be true, but that's not true. And if anyone knows New York City back in the 90s, would know that's not true. Because Mayor Giuliani, when he was there in 1990s, he did the opposite. He hired more police officers, stepping up enforcement, and locking away more felons. And you saw a drastic change in New York City. You saw people coming back, cleaning. The city was getting cleaned. And now you look at what de Blasio's doing over there, rolling back everything Giuliani did, and crime is through the roof again. So we have 2 things we can look at. We can look at the success of Giuliani, because you can look before him, during him, and now after him, because of de Blasio, what he's doing, and you can see that Giuliani's approach was working. And now it's not. And then you're going to find out with this in St. Louis that they're going to take that a step farther than what de Blasio's doing.
Calling emergency service.
What the hell? My phone was trying to call people. So, only time will tell. Only time will tell. But like I said, the people of St. Louis, they only have themselves to blame for what they get. Yeah, calling the chief. I don't know why. My phone picked up and said I was calling emergency services. I guess maybe my phone knows something I don't know. Maybe if I go outside my studio, there's people waiting for me. Who knows? But I'm glad I just didn't call. I would have Mr. Orlett be having to pay me a visit to the house. So, but listen, elections have consequences. St. Louis, you're going to be the first up to find out what they are. Because she is the first one elected that has actually campaigned on it and now going to implement it. So we'll find out. We'll find out what happens. And yeah, New York City was getting clean. There were people pissing all over the streets back in the day. And go back and read about before the 90s what New York was like. And then after Giuliani. Now, like I said, you're right back to the same thing. When is the green room going to be completed? You could talk to Susan about that. I'm still waiting on our contractor. So, but you know, like I said, we have a lot to talk about over the months to come because all this stuff is going to start unfolding and playing out, and we're going to see firsthand what's working, what's not working. So, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But just to get back to what we spoke about at the beginning of the show, being grateful for what we have. So I'm grateful for each and every one of you here. I'm grateful that you guys tune in and we listen and we learn together and we talk together and we express ideas. And like I said, we have plenty of people that disagree with me in here, which is fine. I respect that. And but at the end of the day, we're all grateful for it, and I have no regrets for anything I say on the behind this microphone. Everything I say, I think about, and it is what I believe, and I will speak it. So a lot of people won't do that, and that's their prerogative. I don't believe in that. I believe on sticking to my principles, and it is what it is. I'll let the chips fall where they may. So. Just like I said, just appreciate what you have. Be grateful for it. Life is precious. And, yeah, well, I do have some. But that's in your opinion, and that's okay. I know a lot of yours are a little screwed up. But until we see again each other, we'll see each other again on Thursday. We are going to talk about some state issues. We are going to talk about the elimination of a proposal to eliminate the state car tax and why that is not a good idea. I know, I'll say that again. There is a proposal to get rid of the state of the car taxes, but instead moving it to other state taxes, a flat tax for statewide. We'll talk about that, and I think it's going to take us about an hour to get through all that because there's a lot of small, minute things that they threw in there that it'd be more expensive for you in the end. Let me just put it that way. It does not help you. In fact, it costs you maybe about $600 more per year. So, but we'll talk about that on Thursday. So until then, go in peace. And love, because I love each and every one of you. And like I said, just cherish the time you have with people, and don't regret, being nice to people and loving people. And if things happen, they happen for a reason. Just believe that, and that you'll be okay in the end. And that, but don't ever stop showing love to people. Just because you're afraid that you're going to get hurt or anything else. So don't let your optimism and don't let anyone take away from your star player, which is you yourself. So I love you. I love you all. God bless you, and God bless, as always, this great, amazing country we have. Good night, and I'll see you on Thursday.